Hey folks, I'm just here to talk to you a little bit about the second step in the lesson 8, creating functions with parameters from code.org. So this particular assignment has two pieces. We started the last one yesterday, and that was drawing shapes with parameters. And you guys went through the process of completing an assignment that had you draw some triangles and squares and things like that. So today, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working on the under the sea drawing. And this is a multi-part challenge. Notice that there are 6 pieces to this. I want you to also notice that when you go into this particular challenge, that right here, this little icon means that this is part of a larger project. So as you move forward, the work that you do today is saved, and or the work that you do today, the work that you move in this particular piece of the puzzle is saved. And when you go on and move on to 11, all your code that you did here in 10 is going to be saved. And so we're going to be using them as building blocks. Um, so the first thing we want to do with this, you read through this whole thing, okay? And remember, the key here is the do this piece, right? That's really the key. So let's concentrate on what it tells us to do. So we're going to read through the program and try to understand what it does. We're going to go through, we're going to look at some of the notes. Notice that we're able to put notes in by doing 2 forward slashes, and then we can pretty much say what we want. This kind of describes what we're doing. So in this case, we're saying, hey, we're going to prepare the turtle to draw. So we're going to hide the turtle. The turtle's going to be hidden. And then we're going to bring the pen up. And then we're going to make another note here, 2 forward slashes. First, draw the background. So now what we're going to do is a draw background. Notice that this is we're calling the draw background function. So let's see, what is the draw background function? Let's see if we can find it. So we're going to go down and down. Notice there's quite a bit of code here. Maybe more than we've ever seen before. I'm looking for that draw background. I must have missed it on my first go around. Ah, here we go. I don't know how I missed it the first time. So draw background is right here, and what we do is we set the pen color to a certain color, in this case dark blue, and then dot 1,000. So I'm not really sure what dot means. So if I don't know what dot means, what I want to do is I want to go over to this function right here, and I want to see what it's about. It says draws a dot centered at the turtle's location with a specified radius. So let's see some examples of what dot does. Dot 5 would draw a pixel radius, a 5 pixel radius dot. So remember that a radius is 1/2 of the diameter. So if we took a circle like this X up here, and we were to talk about diameter, we'd be talking about the distance between the edge and the other edge. Okay, that's the diameter. A radius is between the edge and halfway, in the middle, basically. Okay, so when we're talking about a dot that's 5, we're going to go 5 pixels to the left, and then that will make a draw a circle around that. So a dot 5 is going to be really small. But a dot 150 is going to be much, much bigger. Notice that it also gives us some examples. Look, we can make like Mickey Mouse over here by drawing a large dot, a dot 100, and then moving and creating smaller dots, 50 dots. Notice these are the 50s at each corner. So this is how we understand the code. There's going to be stuff that, there's going to be functions, there's going to be commands that we just aren't familiar with. And when we get to those things that we're not familiar with, all we have to do is go down here to the various functions, take a look at what they're about, take a look at their examples, try to understand them better. So what I see in the code when we go back up is this first command of drawing background. We're calling a function, and that function is right here. We're putting the pen color to dark blue, and we're creating a dot that's really, really, really big. In fact, the dot's so big that I could see it taking up the entire space of the screen. And that kind of tells me we might get a giant dark blue background across the screen. Now I'm not going to hit run yet and then give it away. So let's just see what the next thing is. Then what we're going to do is we're going to move to a location, 150, 400. So if I move this, the X is at 150, right around here, and then the Y is at 400, which is like way down here. So I'm moving to roughly this location, roughly that location, and then I'm going to draw a starfish. So draw starfish is a command, or as a function, and I want to see what that's all about. So let's try to find the draw starfish. Oh, it's right here. Draw a 5-pointed, notice the forward slashes, this is just info for us. Draw a 5-pointed star with a wide pen. So the function is called draw starfish. This is setting up the pen. So we're setting the pen RGB at 255, 0, 255. What does that mean, pen RGB? That kind of tells me it's the color. So let's go down to pen RGB. If we hover over it, it says using RGB values sets the color of the pen used by the turtle. And so what we're essentially saying is we want all reds, all or 0 greens, and all blues. So red plus blue, what is that combination of colors? You can imagine what that is. I'm not going to give it away. And then we're setting the pen width. That's going to be the thickness of the line to 20 pixels. And then we're placing the pen down. And then to draw the starfish, what are we doing? We're turning to 0. So what is turn 2? That's a new one as well. So let's see what turn 2 is all about. Turn 2, angle. Changes the turtle's direction to a specified angle. 0 is up, 90 is right, 180 is down. So we're changing the orientation. Right now, the turtle is definitely at 0. It's pointing up. And we can set that angle. So this is basically ensuring that our turtle is facing up. We move forward 60 pixels. We turn right 144 degrees. We've used this before. We move forward 60. We turn right 144. Notice that this pattern's continuing. It's going to draw some kind of star. And then when we get to the end, we're gonna put the pen up. So basically, we're gonna draw some kind of little star guy right here with a color that is unique, that has all red, no green, and all blue. So now let's keep going. We drew the starfish. Draw all the seagrass on the bottom of the screen. So we're going to draw some seagrass. So we're moving to a location of 50, 450. So let's see what that's going to be about. That's about right here. 50, 450. So we're right around here. We're going to draw our first grass, draw our seagrass. And then we're going to move our orientation of our turtle to upright. And then we're going to say draw seagrass. So what is draw seagrass function? What does that do? Switches between left and right arcs to make seagrass. Function draw seagrass. Setting up the pen, we change the color. Notice our red is 0, green is full, and blue is 0. So it's no combination of colors. Easy to figure out that it's all going to be green because green is on and everything else is off. And then we want the pen width at 10 pixels. We put the pen down and we're going to draw 4 arcs to make the grass. So arc left, arc right, arc left, arc right. So I don't know what those mean necessarily, so I'm going to look. Arc left moves the turtle forward and to the left in a smooth circular arc. And if we're not quite sure exactly angle and radius and what does that mean and how do we figure that out, I mean, we know what the angle is, right? It's pointing the turtle in a direction other than what it's oriented at right now. But the radius, and radius is basically the width of the circle that we're talking about, that point halfway between the halfway point of the circle and the edge of that circle. So the bigger we make that radius, the larger the arc is going to be as it goes around. So if we look at some examples, we can click on it, go down. This one we don't see any drawings, but what we do see is if we're going to draw a quarter circle, So that's like a, from this point to this point. That's 1/4. That's 1/4 of a circle. You could arc left 90. So we're gonna eventually get to 90 degrees from where we are, and 25 is gonna be the radius. So that might give us a circle somewhere around like this, just an arc, just like that. Um, and if we want to draw a full circle counterclockwise, we set up the color, we set up the width of the pen, and then we arc left 360. So that means we're going to go all the way around. Remember, 360 brings you back to the start, and we're going to make something that's 50 wide. So I guess if we said that this one is 50, then that circle would be roughly twice as big. Okay. So it gives us a clue of how to put these things up. So this is not creating an entire circle. In fact, we're only making part of a circle. 90 degrees would be from this point all the way to here. So none of these are even at 90. They don't quite get there. They arc around a little bit. And they're actually pretty wide if you think about it, like really quite wide. So we should see something kind of like this where it snakes around or something. Never really comes around all the way. So we're going to be making these arcs, then we're putting the pen up. That's great. What else do we have here? So let's make sure I'm not skipping anything. We'd move to draw the starfish. Well, we draw the seagrass, draw all the fish. So now we move to 100, 100, which is right here-ish, 100, 100. Roughly there. And we're going to start drawing our fish. So what is draw fish? What is that about? I mean, I can only imagine that might be kind of complicated to draw some fish, but let's see. So draw a single fish at the current turtle location. So we're going to set up the pen. We're going to make the fish a certain color. So it's going to be almost full-on red, partial green, and no blue. Think about what that color might be. The pen width's 30. We're going to put the pen down. Now we're going to draw the body of the fish. We're going to create a giant, not a giant, but a dot that's 30 pixels big. So, if we want to think about what's 30 pixels big, let's set this thing at 0. So x of 0 is right at the corner, and then 30 pixels gets us to around here. So, we're going to have a dot that's somewhere around this big. That'll be like maybe the head. Then we're going to turn 90, move forward 30, and then we draw the tail. And I'm thinking, since we turn left and then we move forward and we turn right and move forward, I'm almost thinking that we're going to get a circle here and then we're going to get some kind of like triangular thing at the back. I'm thinking that's what a fish looks like. And that looks like what we're doing when we create this fish. So then we move our pen up. And so now what we would have, if I think about this, we're going to have ourselves some grass. We're going to have a blue background. We're going to draw a fish. Then, I mean, boy. Oh, make a background. Okay, we did all that. Draw a 5-pointed star. We've done that before. Everything's here. I think that we're going to have this image. We're going to have some grass in here. We're going to have some star. We're going to have some fish. We're going to have a blue background. Let's run it and see what we get. Look at that. There's our star. There's our fish. There's our grass. We knew the grass was going to be green, but the colors that you may have predicted for these two objects may be a little bit different. This definitely was dark blue. We knew that. So this is what you have to do. You got to go through the code. You got to think about it. What is it going to give you? That might take a little bit of time. That's what this is about. Trying to understand. Don't run it first. Read the code first. See if your prediction is true. All right, so let's look at the do this. We're going to read through the code. We did that. We're going to add function calls in the early lines in the program so that 2 fish and 2 starfish and 2 pieces of grass appear somewhere in the scene. So right now we have 1 starfish, 1 fish, 1 piece of grass, but what we want is 2 of each. 2, 2, and 2. And it doesn't really matter where we put them, but we want them somewhere. And that's important. So we're going to be able to copy and paste some code, right? Because we know that if we draw starfish and and we move to a different location and call draw starfish, we should be able to generate a new starfish at a new location. Um, One thing that I want to remind you of is just emphasize what I just said. You have to move to a new location in order for the second drawing to appear in a new spot. Otherwise, it's just going to draw the starfish over the starfish that's there. So let's just let's just copy this draw starfish, make another one. This will draw a second starfish for sure. But since we didn't move, we're still only going to see one starfish because we drew a second starfish over the first. So let's run that, and you can see that that happened. But let's just say that we were to move to a new location. Let me just I'm going to copy this move to down here, and I'm going to change the location of this. I'm going to say, like, I want to move it to 100, 300. And then I will draw a starfish. So this will be a second starfish, but this time at a completely unique location. Let's run it. 2 starfish, just like that. So what we want to do is we want to make some changes, just like we've done. We want to have something that has 2 starfish, 2 grass, 2 fishies, and when you're all done, you hit finish, and then you move on to the next challenge. If you have any questions, just shoot me an email, put a comment in the assignment, and I will do what I can to help you out. Thanks so much.